just so everybody know, like, I grew up a huge Buffalo fan. I grew up 15 minutes from the stadium. And 15 and 16 used to be my guys, 94. But I just loved 15's drip back in the day. He had the bandana and the fucking shield. And I was like, I'm going to do that when I get to college. So we kept the party going. It's great to have you on the show, bro. We've been talking about the All Colorado team for about a week now. And we had some, we had the offense done Monday and Tuesday with Lawrence Vickers and Bobby Pesavento, a bunch of guys up there. Obviously, it's not everybody. There's tons of guys that are missed, tons of guys that we just talked about. It's amazing how angry people get about lists. But today we're going to talk about DBs and linebackers, safeties, corners, and linebackers. That's the group that you, your 3-year starter for Coach Mack in 94, and then the 95 team, and then Tricky Ricky and 96 when you guys were 10-2. So let's get into this right off the bat and tell some stories and have some fun, and then get Steve out of here.
Absolutely. Matt. Steve, I can't thank you enough for joining on this fine Thursday, my man. Matt, let's get into it. Let's talk Colorado defensive backs. We can start at corners. We can start at safeties, wherever you want. This is kind of a light list. We can go ahead and add to this, Matt, as we go. Kind of talk about it. Obviously, Travis Hunter, Deion Figures, Donald Strickland. We can go on and on. Moving on to the safety position. Steve, obviously, you're on the list. The man, can't thank you enough for joining. So is Michael Lewis, Chris Hudson. Matt, kind of talk about the defensive backs, and then with Steve, we'll get your take after.
Well, like with the safeties and the DBs, the guys that I got on mine, and I'm sure we're missing so many, are Hudson, Rosga, Lewis, Awezier, who's still playing for I think he's playing for Tennessee still. The DBs will be Hunter, Figure, Strickland, Marcus Washington, Ben Kelly, Terrence Wheatley, and of course there's so many more that probably deserve to be on that list. Ryan Black is another guy I know that Steve played with, who is just a bad man at safety. And then, we'll jump into the linebackers afterwards. But looking at that list of DBs, Steve, and guys that maybe that we missed, and guys that, you played with, and just I think it's defensive back university, bro. I mean, shit, especially in that era, we had dudes everywhere. Two Thorpe winners, multiple NFL guys. I mean, just making plays all over the field. Just talk about that era of Colorado football.
Yeah, I think it was a special time because it started when I walked onto campus with Deion Figures and Ronnie Bradford at the corners. And basically you had D-Train, you had Greg Lindsey, you had Hudson was playing safety at the time. I mean, just dudes. And as a freshman, to watch Deion win the Thorpe that year, I was immediately set. That was my goal. And I realized that I was at the university where that was going to happen. 2 years later, Hudson wins it. 2 years later was my senior year. I was like, I'm winning this thing. This was DBU, like you said. The amount of talent that was around the ball, and I think what people miss out on some of that era was we flew around and switched things all over the place. I mean, Ryan Black coming off the edge like a linebacker at 5 foot nothing, 100 and nothing pounds, but hitting like a freight train in the backfield. Then you had athletes coming in, Elton Davis coming right from Boulder High, playing running back in high school, and then he comes in as a corner. And same with Ben Kelly coming in as Damon Wheeler. Damon Wheeler came in as a running back and turned into a corner.
Wow!
Oh man, played as a true freshman my senior year. It was one after the other, and it was. I'll go with it was the dog pound. That was Greg Brown. Brownie set us with the dog pound. We had the parental advisory T-shirts. And it was no wide receivers were safe. And that was just the mentality that was brought into that meeting room every single time we arrived. And certainly when we stepped on the field, it was no nonsense. And I think at the same time, there was always a guy that was going to beat you out if you weren't bringing it. You couldn't get satisfied or be satisfied with just playing and being good. You had to be great because there was another one hungry to play right after you.
And I've been watching a lot of the old games. I like to go back and just YouTube is just a treasure vault, bro. Because there's no commercials. I'm into that shit. I can just sit there and watch an old school game and it takes me back. I was watching the Oklahoma State game where you had a pick six. And then I was watching the Texas game from 96 the other day. You had 2 picks in that game and 1 to seal it. And then I was also noticing, bro, how long did you hold on field goal?
3 years.
Was that the whole year?
After Blake Anderson.
You were there you were holding on field goal for 3 years. Did you guys ever run any?
Well, technically 2, because I was the backup when Blake was a senior, and then I was a holder my junior and senior year.
Did you ever have any badass fakes in the train, like anything to like, coach, let me run this fake, I can throw it?
Yeah. So actually, because I was a baseball player out of high school, I was drafted by the Twins my senior year, and I don't think anybody believed that I could throw. And so the quarterbacks with Neuheisel started doing this at the end of every practice, where they'd throw from the 40 and trying to hit the goalpost. And I would stick around, and I was like, hey, I'm a quarterback. I'm a quarterback of the extra point team. So I started throwing it, and then he bet me. It was back when he was had his sponsorship with Burger King. Bet me some free Whoppers that I couldn't throw from the 40 into the bleachers. I chucked that sucker all the way over into the bleachers. They're like, all right, we're putting in a fake. And so we had that spread speed ball where it was 4 guys on one side, 5 guys on another, me in the middle, and we never ran it. We lined up in it against Texas A&M, forced them to call 2 timeouts. That ended up burning them at the end. And when Tennyson McCarty caught one over his shoulder to seal it with probably minute 40 something left, they had no timeouts left because we burned them with it. Otherwise, the only actual fake is we had a fake at Kansas. It was like 4th and probably 15 or so. And Jason Leslie was our kicker, little 5'5" barefooter. And it was an option. It was a speed turn option. And right before I went out there, Bobby Houck looked at me and he said, don't pitch it. Because Jay would have gotten murdered. So I think I got about 13, tried to stretch for 15. Didn't happen, but that was the only time I got to actually run it. Thought about it, but never got to pull the trigger.
Steve Rosga joins us here, one of the all-time great Colorado Buffaloes, and played on, I mean, shit, man. When I was there from 2004, I thought I played on some pretty good teams. I look back at some of these eras, and I'm like, you got there in 93? 92.
92.
So 92, you were a freshman, you redshirted, yeah?
No, I played as a freshman, then I redshirted my sophomore year.
Redshirted sophomore year. Okay.
I moved in and took over the nickel and dime, so Hudson could move up and play the nickel.
So talk about the 94 team, and then I look at the 96 team, and I feel like that's like one of the forgotten squads.
Yeah.
Because you guys were literally 12 penalties and 7 points away from being. I don't know how the miracle in Michigan happened for us. The like tip ball miracle in Boulder happened for them. That loss was heartbreaking. But then, I mean, the fucking Corn at the end of the year, 16-12 and 4 field goals and a defensive touchdown. And you guys had them by the nuts. And I remember I was a freshman in high school, like pacing in my house. Like, oh my God, we're going to beat them. And then like they just pull it out at the end. Talk about the 94 team and the 96 team. The 94 team was just, I mean, holy shit, that collection of talent is insane. That 96 team, that team was loaded to bear as well.
Well, 94 was a collection of 2 things. 9 Deuce, as we call ourselves, came in as Mac's greatest recruiting class ever. 27 guys, I think 17 or 18 All-Americans out of high school, and we all made an impact. At some time throughout our career, maybe it wasn't right away, but we had some dudes. And then you throw that in with what Mac had already established coming off of the national championship team. And there weren't holes. There were guys across the board that were some of the best athletes you've ever seen, some of the best football players you've ever seen, some of the best guys you've ever seen. But we just figured out how to get along. And if we didn't get along, 9 Deuce would run through the locker room and want to wreck some stuff, especially with Naoli. He'd start his little Hawaiian chant, and you knew to get the hell out of the way. So 94 was that was when it was on. So 94 was special because it was all of that plus what the national championship brought in. You know, you got Dion and Beekert as seniors, along with some of us young guys that were filling in, and Naoli starting from his redshirt freshman on. Rashawn, obviously what he did, and really, some people forget how great Lamont Warrant was, but Rashawn basically drove Lamont out because he was going to be the guy. And then you got Lepsis playing tight end. You got Fourier playing tight end. We went to a 2 receiver, 2 tight end back, and Cordell and Rashawn in the backfield long before the today's age. And I know you said it the other day, Slash would have been the best in the NFL right now. If he came through in this era, the best in the NFL. And so you combine all those guys, and then you have that attitude and that edge that Coach Hankowitz had for us on defense, where we wanted teams to suffocate. We held Kansas State to 19 yards. Was
that in 94 or 96?
Yeah, 94.
94. And then in 96, you guys beat them 12-0 at home
at their place or at our place. Yeah. When Damon had 2 interceptions, that was unbelievable as well. And it was just a special group of guys that, and as we moved into Doc Kreese, Mad Dog laid it for us. He taught us how to work. Doc came in and taught us that our work wasn't enough. Our work wasn't good enough, but he taught us to love each other. And he taught us to be a family, even more than anybody else. And I was with Shelly Sheets this week visiting, and we still talk about it. The pride and the tradition of the Colorado Buffaloes will not be entrusted to the Timid of the Week. Was Doc Kreese coming in and just saying, this is what we are. This is what we're going to be. We're going to walk through these doors, and there's nobody that's going to be able to keep up with us. And that carried on into 95. And then 96 was the rest of us. 92s were seniors. And so everybody that was coming in after that was basically a product of what 92's legacy was. And I say that to the kids I train now, especially at the high school level. Your legacy is not what you do while you're there. It's how they remember you when you're gone.
Exactly.
And that was what 94 catapulted us into 96.
Steve Rosga joining us here. We're going to talk about some of the linebackers in front of you. But before, the great Dr. E.R. Kreese, hail son, I used to read the sports section in the electric chair. So that was a bad man. Right? So much carryover. Hankowitz was my defensive coordinator my senior year. Coach Barnett brought him back, and he really solidified our defense and got us playing fast and physical and mean. The best season I ever had in my life is when Mike Hankowitz walked up to me and said, "You play 3 technique, you can go 2 ways." And I'm like, "Thank you, Mike," because all the coordinators before never used to let me take a 2-way go. So I tip my cap to Mike Hankowitz. Without him, I don't think that I get to the NFL. So let's talk about the linebackers in front of you, Doug. Some of these linebackers that played in front of you are unbelievable. And my list here for the linebackers, I didn't get it to Bailey on time, is Matt Russell, Ted Johnson, Beekert, Colorado kid and the Longmont guy, Jordan Dizon, a guy I played with, Jay Sean Sykes, Hannibal Navies, Sean Tufts, Nate Lamon, Brian Ewu, and the great Ron Merkinson. So roll with that list, because you played with you had Ron and Matt in front of you, and it must have been
I had Matt.
Well, I get some tackles too. Fuck.
I had Matt. I had Ted. I had Beak. I had Hannibal. I had.
You had all of them.
I had Merck. I had all of them, and it was basically.
You had young
allowed
Hannibal,
us
right?
To play. Yeah.
You had baby Hannibal.
Yeah, we had Hannibal the Cannibal, as AJ Kristoff used to call him, because he was just up there to eat, and
Animal.
It was basically a way in which I got to play downhill as a safety, and also be able to drop back into coverage, because we all had assignments and we all had gaps, and you knew everybody was going to do their job. Right. And Matt Russell, 1,000,000 tackles. Ryan Black, 1,000,000 tackles. Me, 500,000 tackles, all together. And it was like 6, 16, and 15. We're all going to come somewhere into one of the gaps, and we were gonna make sure that it was a 5-yard headache. And then it allowed us to drop back into coverage when we needed to, and allow me to play a little center field or play some man free. But you can't do that. You can't play a 2-deep man under or any sort of man free if you don't have somebody like Hannibal that can lock up a running back, or Ron Merkerson that could lock up a tight end, and Russell being able to just cause havoc while at the same time being athletic enough that if the quarterback scrambled, he was going to find a way, just running up his chest out here, his belly out, but he would hit somebody. And whether it was in the backfield, whether it was, there was no RPO against us. We had it covered. And we had it covered with the guys in front of us. Ted, when we were in a 3-4 with Ted and Matt in there together, sorry, you're not hitting the A gap, the B gap, or the C gap. And as long as our corners were given a little bit of press, I could run the angles to the edge. Our outside linebackers could lock up that tight end. It it allowed us to play free because you never had to sit there and go, well, I hope he can do his job today. It was, you knew the job was happening.
For sure.
Thanks, Agent One. Thanks for going up there. Talk about Matt Russell a little bit. Matt obviously won the Buckus. Al won the Buckus too in the 90s, and we're going to talk about the pass rushers and defensive linemen tomorrow. The reason he's not on the linebacker list is because I had to split them up. I had to split up the true pass rushers, guys that were edge players, and the second-level linebackers because there's so many goddamn players. Brian Cabral and everybody that came before him, just the plethora of just talent. But talk about Matt Russell. I trained his son Reese, and Reese is like one of my kids. I love that guy. Unfortunately, think about this. There could be a Russell wearing red and white. Like, if you would have said that to Matt Russell back in the day and gone, he might play in Nebraska, like, I think Matt's head would have exploded. Probably.
I'm pretty sure.
And now he's like, business of the game. And I'm like, you're so calm in your old age.
Yeah, you gotta move on a little bit. But hey, you know what? I'm out here with my daughter's soccer team, and they just lost a heartbreaker in the overtime of the national finals. And we lost 2-1 with 1 minute remaining. It was unbelievable. And coming from 800 elevation up to this and playing 5 games in 5 days with 14-year-old girls, they dialed it in, worked their butts off. But our team is black and red. It's Lakeville, and I had to wear a red coach's shirt. And I told the girls, because we visited Boulder the other day, I told the girls, you have to understand, this is the only time I will ever wear red. And that just proves how much I love you guys. But as soon as the game was over, I'm taking that thing off because it makes me itch. And all the parents are kind of laughing about it because it's just they started to get it when we went over to the Champion Center and the CU Event Center. They started to understand that, you know, the better dead than red is for real.
Damn straight.
So Matt and I might have to have a conversation, but getting to Matt, I mean, we were on our official visit together, actually. Think about this official visit. I got Chris Naoli, who was 16 at the time, didn't say a word, just sat in the corner,
and was scary as fuck.
It was scary.
We were like, who's the big scary fucker in the corner?
And then you got Russell, who is in like jeans and cowboy boots, but he's from East St. Louis. Like, how do you figure that one out? And like kind of a partial mullet, and you're just like, that's got to be a scary motherfucker because he's coming out of East St. Louis looking like he's just rode a horse in town. Like, those two don't jive with each other. And then you find out he's a military brat too, and you're like, okay, this guy's half cracked. He's climbing up the rocks up Flagstaff in cowboy boots so he can get a better view. Like, just doesn't care. That guy, I mean, I could go on story after story after story. That guy was part of the reason why the locker room was the way that it was. He brought us together just by being crazy as hell. And then, you know, we had to condition with Doc, and he's out there in the snow in probably a jock strap and some shoes because that's just Matt. And then Detmer had to one up
what the situation needed.
Yep. Detmer went out there in just a winter cap because Russell could never one up Detmer. And it was just what made it. It was what made it special. But then I don't know how he got to every single tackle because it never looked like he was running fast, but he was never slow. It never looked like he was hitting hard, but guys would go flying backwards. You know, they talk about pad level and all these things. Matt just was always there. And then he would stand up and give his little fist pump to the sky. He'd just give that fist pump to the sky, and you're like, Matt's here. He's going to have about 20 tackles today. You just knew it. And he would laugh while he was doing it. He would genuinely have a great time when he was doing it. And that's the guy. I mean, if you want to have that guy, you know, they talk about Singletary and his crazy eyes. I'll take Matt Russell in the middle with his craziness all day long.
Last question I got for you here before we get you out of here. The great Steve Rosga joining us here on 0 to 60, and such an inspiration to me in that era of player. And it trickled over into my era too. Don't get it twisted. We had Doc. We had Mike Hankwitz. Gary Barnett was very, very much like Coach McCartney in his direction and the way that he got us ready for games. And you know, it kind of I hated the move to the Pac-12. It hurt my heart. There's parts of college football that I love still, but I miss the old rivalries, and I miss the old just regional part of college football. I think that's something that's missing. Do you think there's a way that we can get Nebraska every year, even though it's at the beginning of the year and it won't mean as much? I mean, you were on a team that you went from playing them in Halloween to the end of the season. So why can't we play them at the beginning of the season now? Do you think that they would ever go for that in a home and home for the rest of our lives?
Has to. The way I see it, it has to. I mean, even talking to some of these parents as they've kind of lived vicariously through my experience in Boulder, that it has to. It can't go away. That is, I mean, they tried to fabricate living up in Minnesota. They tried to make Nebraska and Minnesota a good game in the Big Ten. It's not the same. Colorado, Nebraska is, I mean, there are cops waiting at the border to arrest the wrong driver license plates. If the game was in Nebraska cops were sitting at the border. As soon as those Colorado license plates cross the border, it's like, woo, light them up. Same thing coming back. And that is, you know, I go back to when Osborne said it wasn't a rivalry. Well, if it wasn't a rivalry, why did they storm the field in '94 and throw oranges at us? Because it was a rivalry. It was everything. It was the 96, no different. And the hatred, I mean, you know, coming out of that locker room, spitting on you, jumping, hands on the guy in front of you with some little ass yellow rope trying to stop fans. That wasn't happening. You had to turn on your psycho before you stepped out of the locker room. Like you became a mass murderer walking out of there, because it was like you are in survival mode. And when you hit that turf, you're like, anybody in red, I'm seeing red. It's a bull in a china shop, and you had to play that way. And there's no other game. You know, you elevate for games because that's what real competitors do, but there's no other game like that one. There's no other place like that. Bro. It has to happen.
I grew up in an era where I was 11 years old when we beat them in like 10, 11, 89, 90. We tied them in 91, and then from 92 to 01, we were like skin of our teeth, bro. I mean, the 95 game was close. The 96 game was 16-12. The 97 game was 27-24. The 98 game was 27-24. The 99 game, we were down like 30 or down 24-7 or something with 5 minutes left and take them to overtime. Aldridge misses a kick at the end of the game. We lose 33-30. 2000, my freshman year, we go to Lincoln. We're 3-7. They're ranked 10th. We had a terrible year, and we go up on them with a minute left, only to lose on a 50-yard field goal. And I'm telling you, after the game, Victor Rogers and Dre and all of us were in the locker room afterwards, and it was like, that shit stops right now. And my entire childhood in high school was like, okay, I feel the pain, and I can't wait to get there to try and turn the corner on these fuckers. And it was the motivation that I needed and my class needed. Like, you guys, the work that you guys put in, all of you were on the sideline that day in 01. Like every ex-Buff that I can think of was there that day in spirit, watching us beat that ass to turn the tide on them. And since that day, it's 8 to 7 Buffs. So you know, it's something that I take a lot of pride in. I know you do as well. And dog, I can't thank you enough for all you did and all you continue to do. Last question: how do you feel about the Buffs moving forward here with Coach Prime and you know, the future of what's going on in Boulder?
You know what, I think you said it best the other day, and I'm not sure if someone else said it as well. You can't be in the present without understanding the history. As long as we continue to embrace the history and don't forget how great we were. Don't forget how special the 90s and early 2000s were. Everything we're doing now is bringing us back to that. And in an era where it's completely changed. I sure as hell hope that some of these guys understand that my blood is black and gold. It will never be another color. I hope these guys can figure out how to embrace that in this culture of transfer portal and get your bag and all this stuff, and realize that the blood, sweat, and tears, no, it's you bleed black and gold. And if we can maintain that with all of this circus that is college football, which I think Prime has figured out the lane to be in for that, because even the fact that he's bringing up changes that need to happen, the right changes, that like a salary cap, for God's sakes, like let's end the wild West and start holding these kids accountable. Hey, make them, you're going to transfer? Great. You got to sit out a year. You sign a contract to play at a university and you're going to get some NIL money. How long is that contract? Because if you want to talk about being an employee or being in a union, sign a contract. Yep. Let's see what it means when you got to commit to 3 years instead of 1 year or a half a year, or some of these guys are out before two-a-days are over. And then we'll start to see that blend of what Prime's bringing in with the resurgence of Colorado, and truly bring back what it feels like to bleed black and gold, to have that running through your veins, that real black blood, because that's what still goes through my veins in my 50s.
Let's go. Yeah. Ready to go. All right, Steve Rosga joins us, bro. Thank you so much for all you do, and I'm glad you're out here in Colorado. When do you guys leave, tomorrow?
We leave tonight. This was a no matter what tonight. It was kind of a TBD the last 3 days because we had to advance. So I mean, I have to say this just because I know some of the girls are going to be watching, sitting in the lobby. I've been training for 25 years, and I told them I've never had a group, and you know this, when the buy-in is there, what can truly happen. And to have 17, 14-year-old girls buy into no caffeine, no Advil, no antacids, eat spinach so we could handle this altitude. They all did it. They all embraced it. Alkaline water. They did everything I asked them to do besides the cardio that I had them do. Because, I mean, my wife played soccer, but I'm football. And so I'm on the sidelines as a coach teaching them how to manage their bodies while the soccer coaches teach them how to do it. They fully embrace it. And you know what happens? You know what happens when somebody truly buys into it. I know I watch your videos of your training. When they buy into you, the bridge is there. The ladder is against the right building. But it takes that buy-in. You can't buy in without making the investment. And they made the investment, and I'm proud of them. And I'm proud of everything you do with your boys. It's really cool to see the ones that do buy in and they reap the rewards. You can't make a withdrawal without making an investment first. And if you're willing to invest, sky's the limit. And I watch these girls do it, and I watch your boys and I know some of them are getting some commitments and some offers. That just gives me chills, because that's pretty awesome. That's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Steve Rosga, 1-5. Appreciate you. All the best. We will definitely be in touch. I can get you out to a game this fall, and just keep the party going, brother. One of the Buffalo absolute great legends of all time, Steve Rosga, joins the show. 1-5. All the best, brother.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
That is a bad man right there, Buffalo Nation.
Steve, thanks for joining me, man. I appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it, Steve.